Kenshi has always been one of the best characters of the 3D era. A swordsman tricked into being blinded by his ancestors after opening a well almost Ark of the Covenant style, all at the hands of your boy Shang Tsung no less, only to be granted sight back by his own ancestors' infused blade on a mission for vengeance is one of the best backstories NetherRealm has ever done. And while the new era's version of Yakuza fuckboy blinded by beauty doesn't have the same ring to it, Kenshi still slaps, and with this guide we will take this sword of souls and see what this disabled dueler can really do. Probably. But before we do, don't forget to help the channel by giving us a like, comment, share, subscribe, give that bell thingy some teamwork, and follow us on all the social medias for all your techly needs. Now with that said, I am Tech, and this is my guide to being the best Kenshi player you can possibly be. Probably a puppet master. Oh no. Kenshi uses a mix of zoning and oppressive pressure to force the opponent into praying for the sweet release of death. This is all due to his unique mechanic, the sento stance. So by pressing down away 1, Kenshi will summon his ancestor, aka Sento the puppet, changing Kenshi's stance and offering him a new move pool. This puppet can be controlled independently from Kenshi and comes with its own attacks by pressing or releasing the respective attack button. One will have Sento use Spiral Bop, a fairly quick little poke tool that can be used as a quick lead into combos, or a nice juggle option. Inputting 2 will grant Double Dose, a double mid attack that again is a strong combo initiation string, but that's not all. It's one of your key block string tools. You use this attack while the opponent's blocking to jail them into your next option, which can lead to a mix-up from Kenshi himself. Now there is an armorable gap in between those two slices, but don't you worry too much. With the right timing, you can use Kenshi to help break the armor and go into full damage from there. 3 grants the puppet Lunging Soul, a slow but advancing mid that will launch the opponent on hit for combos. This is one of your main extenders in Sento stance, and in some situations, a strong combo starter. If the opponent is trying to take their turn back while Sento is out and you are blocking, so long as Sento is not being hit as well, this can snuff the opponent out and net you your turn. And lastly, 4 grants Pikara Punish, a 3-hit high to mid flurry that ends in a hard knockdown. Now I still say Double Dose is one of your best in terms of block string potential, but the pace and extra hit of Pikara Punish can come pretty handy when it comes to said pressure, as they have to block all 3 hits and whatever you throw out. Now they could technically take that 3rd hit and eat a knockdown, but then you still have the advantage. Also, did I forget to mention that because Sento is independent from Kenshi, all these attacks will be classed as plus on block, which is why it's so good as your block pressure. Now don't get me wrong, Sento is not a win button. I mean it is, but you have some prices and limitations that you have to keep in mind. First, it locks you out of your cameo. The cameo button will now be taken up with holding Sento up. So if you want to do something as Kenshi and don't want Sento to attack yet, you hold down that assist button. Also, like your cameo, it isn't invincible. Any hit on Sento or Kenshi will make Sento collapse for a few seconds, which isn't too bad on paper, but Sento is on a timer. Yep, all while Sento is out, your cameo meter is depleting, and once it's gone, Sento will return to the livestream and leave Kenshi both in Sento stance and with its cameo on full cooldown. Now you can just cancel the stance by inputting the special move again, and that will technically load up another Sento to use, but it has a hefty animation and leaves you wide open. There are ways to come out of the stance, but they are very limited. First is by you using your fatal blow. That will put you back into normal stance no matter what. Can't say the same if the opponent hits you with fatal blow. In fact, that will technically remove sento altogether and just leave you in sento stance. The only other way is to end the round. This will automatically place you back into your normal stance. Really though, sento stance is a must to get down first. The ability to flow your attacks into sentos is key to your big damage. Stay tuned as we will talk through each special and how they work with sento and some major tips to make everything a little easier to grasp at the end. Okay? Okay. Now like I said, Kenshi has two stances, normal and sento. Both have completely different moves and limits. Where normal stance has a lot of specials, it is very limited in the key normals. Sento stance has a lot more variety in the key normals, but is very limited in its specials. So in order to get this all in your head, I think it's best we go break down each stance individually. Kinda like how we covered Shang's specials in the first guide to the series. So, for the normal stance's key normals, we start with blindsided, a high-low mid-string off the 1-4-1 that is special cancelable throughout, which is good because that final hit is majorly death on block, even if it does launch the opponent on hit. Really, we care more about the 1-4 part See No Evil here, as that low is pretty cheeky and safe, with the initial 1 being neutral on block, but it keeps the opponent on their feet, and depending on what we carry, can lead to a somewhat risky mix-up. His 2-1-2 Tomahawk Pain is an interesting string that's safe on block, and depending on your position, is either a mid hitter or an overhead. The mid hitter, which you can only land by itself from distance, so whiffing the initial 2-1 hops the opponent up, which if you have a good ambush cameo, you can extend. But up close and in your actual combos, it's an overhead that's a hard knockdown. Now the initial 2-1 gut check are both special cancelable, with that initial hit being advantageous on block. But the entire string is safe on block, with enough pushback to allow for a little shimmy, which you can even use our next string, Silencing Souls off the away 2-2, to punish with. As while the final hit is neither special cancelable nor safe on block, with the added issues of being death on flawless if they didn't just armor through the damn gap. Where the hell was I going with this? Oh yeah, the initial away 2 is a beast. Decent range, special cancelable and safe on block, while also acting as a decent anti-air tool. And off juggles gives some decent setups we'll talk about later. But to give that final 2 some credit, it is an overhead, which if we need to, we can use in certain mix-ups. Again, more on that later. Next up is the forward 2-2s, Slice and Dice, our all mid string, so the most common opener. Sure, there's an armorable gap in between, but the string has amazing range that at max distance will kind of close that gap. It's special cancelable throughout and just safe on block by the skin of its teeth. But that doesn't matter, as they also branch 3 ways. The forward 2-ender Spirited Away is a non-cancelable slash that launches the opponent away for space, but with the right cameo can lead to some okay combo potential. On block, it has a lot of pushback, making what would be unsafe a lot better to handle, and they can't armor out of it. But don't smile just yet, as there is a flawless gap that removes that pushback and leaves you a sitting duck. To be honest, it doesn't get too much better with Pinned, the away 2, or Deep Stab. It's down to Copy. Both of these are in the same boat, only much safer, with both block and flawless still being death, and they both have an armorable gap, so yeah, not the best. But we have enough specials or assists to cancel off Slice and Dice to at least instill some awareness into the opponent. Can't risk a flawless if there's something that could lead to damage or setup looming. Now penultimately for our normal stance, I'm bringing up his sweep, as once again it be a very rangy one. Safe on block and just matches the forward 2's range, so therefore it's a good one. As is his last string, heightened senses of the double 4, a high to overhead that just again safe on block with no gaps, but it's really not for that. No, it's the initial 4 that's what we're looking at. While like all the highs in the game it's susceptible to microducks, it again is special cancelable and is our main juggle in normal stance. We use this to set up Sento with enough safety to at least block a wake up. Sure, Sento takes a hit, but it's your turn to deal some damage and kill time until he's ready to go again. Plus there are also ways to get Sento to recover, we'll talk about during the Sento specials. Now on to Sento's stances key normals, which we start with his 1-2-2 string, the high to mid blind justice, special cancelable and both advantageous and super safe on the initial 1 and 2 respectfully, with the final hit being safe on block, while on hit will send the opponent jumping distance, nothing amazing but a decent string for block stun with Sento. His away 1-2 transcending cut, however, is a different story. A low to mid launcher that is special cancelable and safe off the initial 1, but while death on block with the 2 will allow for follow-ups on hit, and because we have a low, there's some 50-50 potential that I can bring up soon. Waterfall cutter off the forward 1-1-2 is a high to overhead string that is safe on block throughout and special cancelable off the first 2 hits. However, it's riddled with armorable gaps, not really worth the good recovery advantage of the overhead hit, but still the initial forward 1 has decent startup and range, so again is a nice poke tool that can be used in certain situations. Now don't blink, I'm not telling you to pay attention, that's the name of the move, is a high to mid string of the standing 2-1. This is our advantageous block stunner. Not an amazing one as well, it's a little slow and micro ducky for my liking, and the advantage just isn't all that great. But it's decent and is special cancelable throughout, with that last hit popping the opponent up for time. This still won't give you enough time to get out of Sento stance, so yeah, moving on to Impaler off the away 2, our standard issue overhead for the evening. Yes, I know what you're thinking, it literally hits them in the gut, and to that I say, did you not see his hands go over his head for that half a frame? Yeah. Feels silly now, don't you? But seriously, this is the dumbest overhead I've ever seen, and it's glorious. First, it's one of the fastest overheads out there, but that comes at the cost of 1 being slightly unsafe on block, which, unless they have a special that's fast enough or a super long ranged quick normal, is a moot point, as is the fact that you're death on up block because that speed is on the cusp of human reaction. If they want to even block you, let alone up block, they're gonna have to predict. So yeah, the only real cost is there's no follow-up without Sento or a really good cameo ambush. So it's not the best, but it has a lot of advantage on hit, and is the final piece to our 50-50 puzzle. This is how we're going to get a lot of our offense in Sento stats with Sento out. They block any of Sento's strings, and we can use either this overhead, the back one's low, or even a throw to stick the opponent in the blender. But to get there we need some block string shenanigans. That's where the forward 2-2-1, lost away, comes in. A mid to low string where the last hit while death on block can link up nicely with Sento's lunging soul, but really it's that precursoring fading light that's our block string. It's special cancelable throughout and is pretty much safe on block, but has an armorable gap. Yet when paired with Sento, it's one of your easy to time block strings. On the simple end, we just time double dose with the last hit of fading light and vice versa. Yes, the armorable gaps are still there, but there's a good chance of overlap that we can break the armor so the opponent eats some chip, and we can look into sticking them in the blender. His forward 3-2 string, Bad Feeling, is an advancing low to mid pseudo launcher that is special cancelable on the initial low and safe on block throughout. Startup is a little slow and there's an armorable gap, but with Sento it can be another potential block option. Now his penultimate normal, down the middle off the standing 4-2, is your go-to Sento bread and butter. Special cancelable throughout, safe on block, and yes, it can be followed up with one to make the unsafe keep away tool get back. But no, down the middle is our go-to combo. Land either Spirit Bop or Double Dose, and we can time that initial 4 to begin his most optimal of combos. Super easy to use, always dangerous. And speaking of optimal, his final key normal for Sento stance is the forward 4 double tap, a mid to high 2-hit kick that is advantageous on block, but on hit knocks the opponent down with decent recovery. And it's that recovery that is our optimal stuff. Skipping ahead a wee bit, at some point during your Sento combos, you will be in a pincer setup. Ending that with double tap knocks the opponent perfectly into Sento's area with the perfect amount of recovery for Sento to apply pressure with double dose as you block the potential wake up. It's also the only way to keep the corner in your Sento corner combos and your best block pressure tool in Sento stance, in my opinion. Thank you for your patience. It's time for the jump in lightning round. Not like we really use them, but once again, 2 stances, 2 sets of jumps. So for normal stance, we start with the jump in 1, which is pretty much our go-to for to Not too bad when it comes to range, and it's special cancelable, which means little as Kenshi has no aerial skills whatsoever, and I wouldn't use this for to ground cancelling anyway, but it does lead to the 1-2 follow-up, Spirit Spike, the almost universal spike strings we've seen before. Jump in 2 though is more to ground orientated, having a good arc, but can be used in some to juggles. It also leads to the 2-4 follow-up, Booted, which offers a little floaty kick that is special cancelable and gives enough airtime to get Sento out on land and begin some offense. Now for Sento stance, not much changes. Jump in 1 gains range but still plays the main to option, albeit a tad slower. This stance's follow-up of 1-2 leads to deep cuts, which becomes the new special cancelable string that actually has a vital role for you Shang bangers. More on this later. Jump in 2, however, becomes goddamn awful as an actual jump in. It's got little to no range and the arc is more above Kenshi. So yes, while it can be good in certain block string mix-ups, it's actually more of an based juggle option and leads into the 3-4 follow-up, Falling Apart, another full screen spike. But the 3 is a floaty special canceller like Booted and deep cuts before it. Really though, I see Sento stance as a more grounded ordeal. Best not to really jump unless you've expelled all your options and are looking for a different way to get the pincer. Now onto the specials. Again, we're split into 2, so for normal stance we start with Ancestral Guard off the down forward 1, where Kenshi runs in to deliver a theatrical slash to the opponent. Only just safe on block, and holding 1 will extend the length of the run. Also, did I forget to mention that while you're extending the run, you are immune to projectiles, as Sento will deflect them like one of his Japanese animes. Doesn't matter how many projectiles there are, Sento will chop them down. This makes you sort of your own anti-zoning projectile, but that's just a special on its own. Utilizing it with Blindsided can switch sides, and with the right cameo can set up or extend for combos. Oh, and you can cancel at any time with the stance button. Next up off the back forward 2, we have Soul Charge, one of his iconic moves of the modern era, where Kenshi slams his ancestor into his opponent, sending them flying. Death on block, but that is because the enhanced version is your armor move, MK's equivalent to invincibility. Really though, it's a keep away tool. You use this to either tank the hit with the armor or end off a juggle for more distance to allow you to go for his next move, Demon Drop off the down back 2. Another modern iconic that's a mix of both his MKX variations. This has Kenshi summon Sento to deal an overhead slash at either close, normal or far ranges. All are death on block, but the distance you land will ease that punishability, so the further you are, the safer you are. Still though, you are negative. Now when enhanced, the struck opponent will be popped up for combos. This isn't too great as we have better combo starters, but hey, it's an overhead, so we can use it in some very dumb 50-50 options. But also, if we land the enhanced drop at good enough ranges, we can go into Sento stance and move Sento upfield enough to cause problems with lunging Soul. His penultimate normal stance special is the back forward 3's Rising Karma, the last of his modern iconic moves. This has Kenshi use Sento to slash the opponent upwards for combos. This is our key combo initiator without Sento, especially when enhanced, as this will make the attack jump cancelable, which as we know from previous videos means that you can also cancel this into moves you wouldn't have been able to do before by doing that move and the jump button. Not really big for the likes of Kenshi, but there are cameos that usually do well with these cancels. Still, it's that jump part that adds to Kenshi, as he can land a jumping attack and go from there for some okay damage. And lastly, we have Force Push off the back forward 4, a quick blast of energy that sends the opponent flying. Death on block, but don't get cocky opponent. Kenshi can charge the attack, making it super safe on block, and will send the opponent further back on hit. Now it does take its time, and even if you find the sweet spot, it leaves an armorable gap, but not to worry, as the enhanced version will grant the full charged normal version by default, with the charge version making you plus on block, though we still have the same armorable gap issues. Also, this only affects the blocking side. On hit, the enhanced connections will mirror the normal ones, so you still have to charge the attack to get the full screen push. But really, this is our safety net. We use this to cover our death yet cancelable strings, so we can try and steal back our turn. Okay, on to Sento stance, and honestly, there really isn't much here, as cancelling the stance counts as one of these specials, so forget about it. No, we start things off with down back 2's Spiritual Alignment, where Kenshi will pray to have Sento return to him from wherever he is. Yep, it's a position reset. If Sento took a hit and you had to go alone and find yourself in the corner maybe, this brings him to where you are and all is good. Sadly, it only works when you have Sento available. If his gauge ran out, you can't use it. That's where the enhanced version comes in, as enhancing the reset will reset the gauge, bringing Sento back out. Still has some time on it, but with the right setup you can get Sento back and ready to fight again, so it's well worth the bar. Our penultimate move is Soaring Sento, off the down back 3, based off his Kenjutsu special in MKX. This has Kenshi deliver a Dragon Punch-esque Rising Slash that leaves both you and the opponent airborne. Death on block, and you can't follow up with anything unless you either have Sento to use Lunging Soul to extend your combo, or enhance the special to allow for aerial follow-ups on hit. Note, as I say, on hit. If they block it, you don't get the follow-up for some reason, which is strange because, well, Kenshi could kinda do with that. Again, it's death on block and a waste of a bar. Still, Kenshi's the puppet master. He ain't spending bar on this unless he needs the damage or the setup to get Sento aligned. And lastly, we have the greatest attack of all, teamwork. Not being philosophical, that's literally the name of the attack off the down back 4. This as Kenshi slash his opponent, then dealing another slash with sento, finishing in the pincer formation. This is the wombo combo, the sento sandwich. It goes by many names, but this is the simple, easy way to get this setup. It's death on block, but it's rarely used in block strings. It's your main ender anywhere that isn't the corner, and maybe sometimes the corner. But if you want, you can enhance it to make Teamwork 2.0, a projectile where Kenshi throws sento into the opponent, where the spirit will use himself to slash at them at range, leaving the opponent in front of sento, who is in front of you, acting like the first line of defense. Damage is great and maybe key in certain situations, but for the most part, we want the wombo combo. Sadly though, once again, these need sento to be out, meaning the only special you have when he is gone is an attack that's Giga Death on block or costs a bar to bring him back, which honestly, I don't really mind too much, as overall, Kenshi is the best he has ever been. Of all the people to make a puppet character, he fits so well, and the damage and setup is off the charts. You don't need too much to do good things with him. He can rack up damage quite quick, and if your opponent isn't careful, the health will be deleted before they can finish that last spew of exploitatives. However, he is not without his flaws that again probably need to be this way. The normal stance just feels lesser. You have some okay zony stuff and some okay strings that really struggle to open the opponent up. Really, all they have to do is block low and wait for your throw attempt, or maybe demon drop. No, sento stance is where it's at. Hell, even with the fact that without the spirit he only has one special that isn't even an armor move, the normals alone are so diverse that getting into that stance as smoothly and as advantageously as possible is the key to our cameo picks. So, for cameos, we are looking at those who can get him into sento stance, and at best, who can get him into the wombo combo setups. So, first and foremost, to get him out the way, Shujinko is not here for the sento stance. He is here because the devs want you to play him more, so made a tutorial challenge. His kit doesn't exactly fit Kenshi and is very much a character specific, but he adds some decent damage and an extra 100 health, which is worth the look. But yeah, now we can move on to the actual characters who can get sento out with some advantage. First we can go with the jailing rat. This is the least favourable tactic of forcing the opponent into sento's first attack, but giving them the chance to block. Kano can do this okay with his knives or Kano ball off the away or forward assists respectively. Timing is a little tricky, especially with the Kano ball, and there can be some armorable gaps, but it's an okay way to get sento out. Same goes for the likes of Striker with his grenades. Get the right setup, it's flawless even on block. And even Goro with his up punch, though that is less of a block option and more of a hit stun. Still, the Shokan can be useful, and I'm not saying this just because he's good with Shang. His away assist, being an anti-crouch tool, allows you to kinda get a 50-50 off your standing one, and the airtime can allow you to dash in, get sento out, and sort of use him to cover the space. But really we want at worst sento with time to think, and at best setting up our wombo. So the next lot of characters are gonna do just that. First, the weakest in this is gonna be Jax. You see, Jax's backbreaker, the front and away assists, hold the opponent in place before launching them forward. This can allow a sento setup where with the right timing, sento can land lunging soul, but you will have to use an enhanced teamwork for the finish. This allows sento to still be a pest with Pakara Punish, allowing you to close in the gap. But if you time the close backbreaker between Blindsided and Ancestral Guard, you can bring sento out, and if you hold forward while pressing block, sento will go past said opponent, pincering them in. Then you can react accordingly. Still not the best way to get this spot, but we'll gradually get there. Darius can also offer us a better sento setup with his neutral assist, and it's self-explanatory. Once they're floating, you can do what you will, end with regular teamwork, jobs are good. And then to expand upon that, we can, if we want, think of using Darius's own mixer potential in there too. Hell, he can even give us the jail setup if we need it, and would be a lot higher on the list if he didn't cost a full bar to do this. There are cameos throughout that give us a lot better setups for a lot less. But tech, I hear as the Shangbangers scream to the heavens, "Where's Cyrax?" And to that I say, you're screaming in the wrong direction, and that Cyrax is right here, though sadly not as viable. You see, Kenshi can't utilize his net in any way outside of a random hit and hope zone tool. So when you do net your opponent, business is booming. Speaking of which, the bomb is also a no-go. But he does get both sento jail options with the horizontal copter at the cost of 2 bars, and a full-on yet ball-achy sento combo off the vertical copter. So long as you land Rising Karma, you can dash in and time the copter with standing fall. Go into sento stance, and then, while holding the assist button down, jump up into the losing bloodstring and time lunging soul with your fall down, all while trying to cancel into teamwork as you land. It's very little damage, but it gets you into the wombo combo. Again, this is more for Shangbangers going up against Kenshi's than Kenshi himself. Hell, since Shang's away one does link into the net, they have a better chance at morphing into Kenshi, setting up sento, and just going for a sento bread and butter than Kenshi players would. And that's just great for me. Speaking of which, morphocopters for Kenshi ain't anything special. It's either time a demon drop with the fall, or a booted string for optimal damage and potential sento setups. But don't worry, Shangbangers, I ain't done. Kenshi and Shang also have some good synergy with good old Janet. You see, her jump punches act the same as Cyrax's helicopter, only more forgiving with the gravity and damage. Not exactly easy to time, but as long as you get the height for Janet to connect the 2 punches, Sento can lunge in, get the pop-up for the teamwork ender, and decent damage to boot. Janet also offers Shang very strong morph combos for every character in the game. And then we have the whole puppet thing, which personally I'm not good with, but still Janet has been looking mighty powerful for the roster as a whole. However, timing is still a thing, and we can't go full ham or get the best advantage possible. No, we need to get a grounded Sento combo, and there are only 2 as of this recording. First, we go for the second place, Frost, who happens to be his main tutorial partner. Her neutral assist can provide some advantageous block strings without spending meter. Plus, it can be charged to force the opponent full screen, hit or block, which in regular form is more your range. The away assist is an orb that slowly moves to the opponent and will freeze them on hits, but it's super slow and Kenshi doesn't have much to make use of it. No, it's her forward assist that is key. This is a low freezing projectile that 1 operates as a very risky 50-50 with close demon drop, but it also gives us our standing Sento combos. All we need is a quick dash and cancel, and we have full Sento setups. The only issue is 1, she's completely summon based, meaning you have to commit to her, and second and most importantly, that freeze timing is really strict. You can't pull Sento off if the opponent is caught in the air, and if there's any connection issues, we're going to have trouble even landing the combos. So this is where Sub-Zero comes into play, as this cameo is just built for Kenshi. His neutral assist creates an Arctic armor that takes 5 hits of projectiles, allowing Kenshi to trade in the neutral. It's also an ambush, so you can use it whenever, and for the full cameo meter, you can cancel into his away assist, Cold Shoulder. His keep away safe block string tool. Normally it's a summon based move, but like I said, you can cancel Arctic Armor into Cold Shoulder as an ambush. Timing's not amazing and you can't really jail it into Sento on block, but it's an only use when needed sort of deal. It's iced out his forward assist, that's basically our win button. Similar to Frost, Subby Wubby will freeze the opponent. However, unlike Frost, the duration the opponent is frozen is almost doubled. Not only does this give you more wiggle room to get Sento out and line things up, but now you can also set up in juggle situations. Seriously, Sub just allows Kenshi to do so much with his kit, and counterbalances some of his weaknesses with that normal mode. Yeah, like I said, we don't get any jailing situations on block, which is the only downside, same with throw-based combos, but hey, we can't have everything. Who knows, maybe Movado can be the golden goose that gives him everything. But for now, some final tips. First, make sure you can fight in both stances. I know it seems like a no-brainer, but it's very crucial. If Sento is stalled out, you will be in that stance for a while, and being able to hold your own in it is going to be vital. Second, don't neglect your zoning. It's not the best, but Demon Drop is going to be a pest at range. If you are using Sub-Zero, getting those trades is going to be a difference maker when you do finally get Sento out. And then, even using Sento as a pseudo projectile isn't too bad of an option either, with Lunging Soul or Teamwork 2.0. And lastly, don't get too formulaic. It can be easy to sort of switch off and just have Ghosty go brrr, but you still gotta remember that if they land just one hit, Ghosty gets busted, and you are blocking, praying not to even get the lightest of pokes. But keep your cool, and you will show that the Takahashi dynasty is in good hands. And if you want to keep this channel in good hands, mine, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, give that bell thingy some teamwork, and follow us on all the social medias. Also remember that this is a community, so if you have any tips and tricks you found yourself, or just want to tell me who you want to see next or who your favorite character is, let us know in the comment section below. And finally, tune in next time where once again we will look at another random character. But until this day, this has been Techno Odin. Stay safe, claim skulls, smash bosses, and remember, it's in our blood.